Hello, everyone. Welcome to the HeartMind Coach Online. And of course, this is home of Self-Care Wednesdays and Business Wellness Cafe chats and tips. Now, where we highlight solutions and promote community wellness is key. And so this is a platform to do it. And we've been doing it since 2018 into 2019, of course, throughout 2020 at the most crucial time, of course, to keep everyone aware about what wellness means and how to go about engaging that for themselves. So today's Business Wellness Cafe chat is part of the Resilience series that I've been doing, and it's a pre-recorded series. So of course, check your notifications for when this chat will be aired, and I'll let you know that. If you let me know down below that you want to see it, and I think you should, because we have a really important topic today for us to talk about. So our topic today is affordable housing and why it's important to all of us. And this is a follow-up to a previous chat that I had with Lori in May about her re-election platform. And I want to introduce you to Lori Lococo. So, hi, Lori. Lori Lococo.
Hi,
Hi. Lori Lococo is the current Niagara Falls City Councillor seeking re-election in the upcoming October 24th municipal election. Welcome, Lori.
Thanks, Diane. Thank you much for having me.
I'm glad to have you again, and I was really excited to have you come back and talk about affordable housing, because I think it's such a crucial topic for all of us to note, whether we're renting or owning or in transition. Affordable housing is key, and of course, we're looking at what it means to have a home. So what is considered affordable housing in Ontario now?
Thanks, Diane. The term affordable housing used to be in the social service sector, and it really targeted people on ODSP, OW, CPP, old age security, and basically it was someone was not to spend more than 30% of their income on a rent or mortgage. And a lot of times when we hear about affordable housing, we think about poverty, but I think the term and the need has definitely changed. Affordable housing, if we look at 30% of someone's income, is for everybody. And we're having challenges now with the economy and the rent increases. So if you look at, for example, this is an amazing statistic, almost half of the households in Niagara Falls are bringing in $60,000 household income or less.
Almost That's half? Really?
Okay. Almost half of our Niagara Falls residents' household income is $60,000 or less. If you take a 30% affordable housing amount, that's $1,500 a month. So I'd like your guests and your followers to think about $1,500 a month. Are you paying more than 30% for your rental or for your mortgage? And that's where the challenge is, because that other 7% is to be used for food and other expenses. 30%, if you're paying 30% for your accommodations, that is definitely a challenge. So affordable housing, what we used to know that maybe people were thinking it was people in poverty, is everyday problem for people. Some people are working 2 and 3 jobs. There's partners working two jobs just in order to meet that. And our rental vacancy is very low at this moment, which then drives the price up. So it is a challenge for everybody, and it's something we definitely have to look at. And I am hopeful that we do have some solutions coming down the pipe.
Yeah, I believe there's always solutions, because whenever there's a dip in an area, it always needs to come up. So denouement, and then it goes back up. And so since this is about focusing on solutions, I'm glad you mentioned ways in which we can start to look at that. So my next question is, are affordable housing being built in Niagara Falls sooner than later? And what are some of the good versus bad challenges? You may have touched on it a little bit, but what else can you expand on there?
I think we've had some movement since May when I spoke to you last time. At our last council meeting on August 9th, the City of Niagara Falls approved a housing strategy, and we've been working with consultants for a couple of years now to find out how can we get affordable housing in Niagara Falls. So they came with a lot of recommendations and strategy, and our council has finally approved those. There are things like increasing the density where people are living, because right now we're working on old zoning and old bylaw information that you can only build a house on a certain size lot. The house has to be a certain size. And if we wanted to build anything smaller or put different accommodations on one piece of property, our bylaws and zoning don't allow this. But our strategy has now said, yes, let's look at those, and we can look at adding a secondary suite, a granny flat, a laneway suite. It talks about different alternatives, whether it be a tiny home or just a more compact home. A lot of times we think of the word tiny home, maybe that's just for a homeless person. But I really believe if we offer more alternatives to people, not everybody wants to live in a 3,000 square foot home with a huge backyard. There are people that will live in 500 square feet or 800 square feet. So I don't think we should just limit what people would like to live in. I think we should give them the choice, allow it in our bylaw, allow it in our zoning, and that gives more alternatives to people.
I think you're right on that. And looking at homelessness and touching on that a little bit, income has changed for a lot of folks, and there's transition happening in families and with individuals, because there's a lot of single people who are having challenges as well, who have to have multiple streams of income. So with the income changes affecting the demand of homes per se, would you say this is true, and that the demand in housing and the way in which it may affect housing development and accommodating these lifestyle changes that have come about, especially over the past 2.5 years? So we're looking at unemployment and underemployment and what kind of impact that is having.
The provincial government in February came up with an affordability housing task force report, and it outlined a lot of different things that the Ontario government could do, the municipal government could do to speed up the process of building homes. We definitely need homes. There's a lot of great ideas and recommendations in this task force report. I am concerned about a few of them. For instance, maybe the notifications, some of the things that have changed. Like, for example, if you have a home that is on a single family zoned lot, you can only build a single family home.
Yeah.
But these recommendations would say you can build a fourplex, 4 units on there. And that's fine, but for me, they've removed the notification for the neighbors to let people know what's going on, for them to have their input, and that has been removed. Some of the other issues are that we could be losing more green space because of the need to build houses. So, there are some different some concerns, but there are also some great ideas about how we could do that. And the city of Niagara Falls has donated some property for affordable housing on Park Street. There's approximately 200 units going up on Park Street, and 20% of those units would be considered affordable housing. The city has also donated a building. It used to be the old library on Victoria Avenue and Armory, and they donated that to the region. The region is now they're utilizing that as a bridge housing. You would have someone who would be homeless, and then this bridge housing would work with people who have maybe some mental health challenges, addiction challenges, need some life skills. And then if they were able to work on those skills, they could move to a more permanent housing. And that more permanent housing in Niagara Falls, the region purchased an old motel and made those into units for people to live in. And I'm really excited that the city has done that, in the sense that, we had some vacant land, we had a piece of property with a building that could be utilized, and without that help from the region, realistically, housing and homelessness was a region responsibility. And more municipalities are standing up saying, these are our residents, we need to do something about it. It has been a while to get there, but I think between the municipalities and the region working together, we can come up with some great solutions. So these are a few of the things that the city is doing. And we need to look outside of the box, outside of the norm. There are people sharing accommodations, whether they know the person or maybe they might put an ad out and try to find a person, sort of like a dating site, but you would find a person that you could share the accommodations. Because if you think of maybe someone who's on ODSP getting less than $1,200 per month total, how are they going to pay $1,000 even for a rental? You only have $200 left. So something is not working. We need to look at other solutions.
Yeah, and I think you're so right about bringing up those very limited ways in which monthly income for folks doesn't accommodate the need that they have in order to have their basic needs met in the way of having a home or a place to stay. Because I do believe that home is the first place where you can experience quality of life, and if that's not there for you, then that's going to erupt all the other elements of quality of life that brings you that sense of peace or that sense of belonging. So we talked about earlier about tiny homes. You touched on that, and you mentioned a little bit about the municipalities becoming more accommodating. So how would you expand on that a little bit, and how can people participate in perhaps understanding a little bit more about how the municipalities' requirements affect them?
Okay, thanks, Diane. Years ago, the zoning and bylaws were put into place. As I said, you only could build a certain size house on a certain lot. What the municipalities are looking at doing right now is changing that. I went to it was Ancaster, a tiny home show, and it was Municipality Day, and they were talking with municipalities about how they could do that, look at the alternatives, change your zoning and bylaws. And the interesting thing for me is, once we do agree to that, there is a second part of this. And the mortgage lenders right now are not lending. There are a lot of people not lending. You might find some private mortgages, but a lot of lenders are not lending the money on a tiny home or a compact home that is under a certain square footage. And then one step further, there's some insurance companies that won't give insurance on it. Once the municipalities do make those changes, we need to ensure that the lending institutions and the insurance industry is on the same page, that people can do that. And I do know from a friend, she was looking at purchasing a very small house in Port Dalhousie. It was not a tiny home, it was just a small house. And when she went to get a mortgage, they wouldn't lend to her. And then the insurance company wouldn't give. So it is happening, but there are some lenders out there that will do that. But then again, you might be paying a higher percentage interest on it than if you would go to your normal bank. I think we need to work out those details, but the first step is with the municipalities.
Mm-hmm. And are there upcoming meetings that are coming too that folks can keep an eye on, just to get a little bit more education as they go along?
Well, what's going to happen with the city of Niagara Falls is, since we have implemented this housing strategy, our staff will be coming back to council with a list of things that we can do, specifics, maybe go from a single family home that only allows a square footage of a minimum square footage of 1,100 square foot. We could go down to 500. So they will be coming back with the statistics, the resources, and all of that information to council. I would suggest paying attention to all of your municipalities and see where the changes are going to start happening. It's really exciting. A little confusing because we're not quite sure where we're going. We have the ideas and we just have to figure out, how do we implement them now? We know there's a need. We've done a lot of talking about this, had consultants, we've outlined the pros and the cons, we've agreed to it. Now it's just to implement it.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying, because when you're starting something that you know is needed by the community or by individuals who are waiting, and groups and families are waiting to understand it a little bit more, and you're willing, as the municipality, you're willing to do it, but how do you figure out how to meet that need in an opportune time, and to a degree where everyone will feel as though they're in on the changes and understanding how to take advantage or to have access to information, and that transparency, as you mentioned before in our last talk. You mentioned the importance of transparency, and so I appreciate you underlining the fact that it's about making sure that information is available and that people should keep checking in and really take an active approach to how they find out information for themselves. And I totally agree with that. And you touched on the tiny homes and your research. And I think that's wonderful to note that there are other places that are sort of showing that mirroring that back to us here. And the steps that are going forward are ones that will surely show the same benefits for us here. So if you were to look at how bright is the future for affordable homes in Niagara, what would you say that looks like, and how bright is it, would you say?
I'm optimistic. I think we've done the research, we've done the work, we just need to implement the plan. When you look at the statistics of almost 50% of our residents are bringing in $60,000 or less, that's a very, very stark, alarming statistic. So if our residents are making less than 60,000, we have to come up with solutions. Now it's just to implement the solutions. I think the region is in line with what we're trying to do. The province is in line with some of the recommendations. I'm really optimistic, and some will be quick solutions, some will be a little bit long term, but we're all on the same page, I believe, and we have to come up with unique ways, like donating land, making buildings into multi-purpose buildings, changing the way that the planners, the builders used to look at. We can talk about incentives for the builders. There's different community improvement programs for them. There could be different types of housing. So there's lots of different alternatives. We need to put a plan. So I am very optimistic, some short term, some long term.
Yeah, that sounds great, Lori. I'm so happy that we did this. I was so excited to talk about tiny homes, but there's so much more around it that you've shared with us. And I knew that there would be more. And also it's about how do people get access to the information. So you've started us on the track on how to do that and keeping on top of the meetings and reading more, et cetera, et cetera. So I'll make note of information pertaining to this on my page. And also it's about airing this particular interview, which is being pre-recorded, letting people know when it's going to be aired. I'm aiming for this Thursday on the 25th. For folks to do that, maybe around 12 noon, but I'll put out a specific note about it so that people can start to listen to what you're saying here, and also connect with the links. If you can send me links that people can go to start to just look up a little bit more information regarding housing and affordable housing, that'd be great. And I'll put it in the post when I post and air this particular talk that we're having. My goodness, the time has gotten away from us already, and we've completed a really nice starting point, I think, with the questions and the answers that you've given. And I'm glad you were able to do this with me once again. And we've come to a close. So is there any final word that you would leave? Let's say 3 points that you would highlight for folks to remember and a takeaway.
Yes, definitely. I love takeaways. I think it's important. Number one is to educate yourself, educate what is available. And that's why I always checking in with the city to see what's going on, look at all the different alternatives, see how they figure out. Not everybody wants that alternative. Does it work for you? So educate yourself. The second one is to work out your own budget. You might like certain things, but you know that they won't fit into your budget. So, you know, you have to be realistic with your budget. And if your budget doesn't work, are there different ways that could increase your budget or share the expenses with someone? There's lots of different things. So first thing, educate yourself. Second thing, look at your budget. And the third is to talk to your counselors, your regional counselors, your city counselors, your member of provincial parliament, and let them know what you're going through, because when we're going through these strategies and reports without statistics and knowledge about what people are going through, we can't make the proper decisions. We are one person and a group of 9 in the city of Niagara Falls. We only have our 9 experiences, and that's why it's so important that we hear the voice of our residents and what they're going through, so we can bring that to say, these are the issues, here's some of the challenges, and here's some of the solutions that we can bring to our residents.
I think that sounds great. Thank you once again for outlining that, and those 3 takeaways are gems. And I thank you for putting that together. once again, I look forward to keeping on top of what it is that you're doing and catching up with what you're doing as the election grows close. And that's October 24th, as you know, the election's coming up. So take a look at Lori's link to find out a little bit more about her platform. I think those are topics that are really important for us to know overall as a community. So make note of that. And of course, keep your eye on the different posts that I do, and you'll find out when this is being aired. And thank you for joining us. Of course, this is the HeartMind Coach Online, where we promote and highlight solutions about individuals, groups, businesses, and of course, promoting community wellness. Thanks for joining. Cheers.
Thanks so much, Diane. I really appreciate your time.
You're welcome.